Hey, bro. Make a spread.
Oh my, previous father thing that.
So this is right across the street or next to the masjid, the apartments next door.
Okay, sure. Oh, so you want to leave the son. People need to really actual working. Oh, Always get your door go back with the bottom. Oh, the neighbor's not. The neighbor's not. The neighbor's right there.
Okay, so hope you guys, if you were on that video, now you're famous, and so congratulations. So now we're going to let's go to this. Okay. All right. So this is why we're calling today's program "Wake Up, Your Son is Trying to Be a Gangster." Based on that video. So so this is going to be an interactive kind of discussion. First of all, the topics we're going to go over today, inshallah. And I know this is a very unorthodox Islamic lecture, but it's something that we have to deal with regard to our kids. And so we're going to talk a little about role models. And so you can see here and this article which says gangster rappers are not role models, as much as some young people want to make them that. We're going to talk about gangster culture. We're going to talk about the concept of tazeen. I will tell you what that means when we get to it, but it's a very important Islamic concept. And we're going to talk about parenting, the importance of actually parenting. So I would like to say that most of you I know, most of you in this room I know, and if you don't know me, I think, inshallah, I would like you to think that I'm a person who loves you, will love you sincerely for the sake of Allah. I always start these talks by reminding you that I love you for the sake of Allah. I don't, these types of presentations, they take a really long time to put together. And I do that because I care about you. I don't get any money for this. I don't get anything special for this. I do this because, wallahi, sincerely, I love you all for the sake of Allah. I love this community and I want this community to succeed. I love the kids in the community. They're like my kids. I look at them as my own, and I care about them as my own. And I put a lot of effort into talking to the kids because I do want them to succeed. I don't want them to struggle. I don't want them to go through a lot of the hardships that I went through growing up in this country. So there is going to be some sensitive content in this video, or in this presentation, sorry. We're going to talk about some sensitive things, racial things. And for some reason, if I cross the line in any way, I'm asking you right now, please forgive me and understand I'm doing this to be clear. I'm not doing this to be offensive or to do anything negative. I'm doing this to be clear so that we understand what we're talking about. Okay, so there's clarity on this issue. If you feel like I went too far, please talk to me after the Aisha prayer and say you went too far. I don't think you should do that next time, and I will take your advice and I will listen to you. So this is the first time that I've ever presented this material, and so maybe I didn't get it right. So if I didn't get it right, you tell me, inshallah. But understand from the beginning that I am trying to say this stuff to you in a good way. Okay, so young men, okay, and young girls as well. So who is this person on the screen? All right, so you guys know it's good, okay, so you guys know that, all right? I'm not gonna say good or mashallah, but I was gonna say, you are right. How about this one? Okay, what do you guys know? You guys know who it is? All right, so some of you got it right about the last one. All right, so you guys know these people. So these are all famous rappers. Okay, so I'm asking the kids. I hope you don't know, but if you do, I don't know what to say, but your kids know these people. So who's that? Okay, so everybody knows that's Drake. Another example of high class behavior. How about this guy? All right, Snoop Dogg. Okay, so he's about as low as you can possibly go on the human evolution chain. And then this guy. All right, P. Diddy. Okay, so he's the guy who's in trouble right now on the news. So our kids. What I wanted to prove to you with this is that our kids, they know all of these people, and if you don't know these people, alhamdulillah, you should say alhamdulillah that you don't know them, because they are literally some of the worst human beings alive on earth right now. Okay? But our kids know them, okay, and that's a problem. Now, here's the next one. Okay, so how about this guy? Anybody know him? No, not R. Kelly. Not BB King. I'll take a seat. Does anybody know who this person is? So I'll open it up to you guys.
It's a lot.
No.
I'm nothing.
So this guy, his name is Langston Hughes. Okay, does that sound familiar to you guys? Langston Hughes. Okay, he's a very famous Black author. Okay, he's an American, Black American author and poet and a civil rights activist. Okay, so he is he did a lot of really good things in his life. He has some very, very amazing writing. Okay, how about this guy? Okay, so you guys know Malcolm X. Good. Okay, alhamdulillah. At least we know the Muslim. All right, how about this guy? I don't think anybody knows him.
Obama?
Huh? Not Obama. Does anybody know this man? This is somebody you should know. No. So this man, his name is Professor Dr. Thomas Sowell. Okay, Sowell, spelled Sowell. All right. Sowell is a professor at Stanford University in California. He's been writing on the dynamics of the African American experience in the United States for the last 30 years, does a lot of research. He has some really, really interesting books and some really interesting writings that we're going to talk about right now. So we're going to talk a little bit about this word, which is crackers. So for the young guys, they probably, young ladies, they probably have not, have you guys heard that word before? Yeah. You heard it? Okay. So most of you have, because it's kind of an old word. So people who grew up in the 80s, maybe in the 70s, you probably heard that word before. Anybody know Richard Pryor? Richard Pryor is a comedian. So he used to use that word a lot. So basically, it's a racial epithet aimed at white people. It's basically calling people a bad name. Okay, white people a bad name. Okay, so like the N word for black people, this is the word for white people. So when black people wanted to insult a white person, they would call them a cracker. Okay, so does anybody know where that comes from? Where does the word cracker come from? Okay, good. Excellent. Good crackers. Okay. They said that white people, especially in the South. Now we're talking about here. Crackers are Southern people. Okay, Southern white folk. Okay, we're talking about the South, and when we talk about the South, what we're talking about is basically like the old South, which was Maryland. Isn't really part of the South anymore, but it used to be. Maryland and down. Okay, so Maryland, Virginia, the Carolinas, and Georgia. That part of America. So the southeast of America, that was where the basically redneck black people were. Okay, and so they used to call them crackers. Who came up with the word? Was it black people that came up with the word? It was actually white people that came up with the word. So actually, northern whites used to call the southern whites crackers. And that's one reason they said, because they used to be livestock, they used to work with pigs and cows, and they used to use whips to keep them under control. And so for the cracking of the whip. And there's a couple other theories as to why that happened. But the interesting thing here is that we look way back, we're looking like the 1700s, we're looking at basically that at that time, this is still immigration to America at that time, right? So we're talking about people coming from Europe to the United States. So the northern colonies, we start looking at like North England, or that part of, New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Pennsylvania, that part was mainly Puritan, like British people, okay? Whereas the South, we're talking about Maryland going down, was actually Scott Irish people, okay? So the Scott Irish people at that time were very, they were uneducated, to put it lightly. So they have certain characteristics. And so one of the things that came from the word cracker was that it used to be used a very long time ago, like Shakespeare, to use it for a person who talks a lot, a person who generally boasts a lot. Somebody, we've all met someone like that, somebody who always wants to say like they're the best. Along with that, when I was younger, I did this, I did that, and, I hope the record, he's a complete liar, okay? He didn't do none of that stuff, but he wants to boast. So he's a very boastful person who talks a lot. And that's actually one of the origins of the word crack, okay? It's someone who was cracking. So we say cracking a joke and things like that. So that cracking is talking a lot, okay? So those people we're talking about now, we're talking about a very unique group of people, which is the southern, southeast United States, or what was at that part, the whole part of the US, okay? Remember, we're not talking about Midwest settlement yet. So these Southerners, okay, they have these characteristics, okay? And so it was used again by the Northerners and people. So we talk about Florida. Florida is kind of a weird state, right? Because it's settled by a lot of Northerners. So the governor of Florida once said, "We don't know what to do with these crackers." This is a white man talking about white people, right? Wrong. Right? So there's a white man, white governor of Florida, talking about other white people from the South. And he said, "We don't know what to do with these crackers. We tell them to settle this area, and they don't. We tell them, don't go to this place, and that's what they do." So there were generally people who were rebellious, people who did not listen to authority. So Sowell, Thomas Sowell, the guy that you guys didn't know about, okay? So this man working in Stanford right now, this professor, he said, wait a second here. When we look at the experience of Black people in the United States, we see different versions, okay? We see a group of people who are in the North, okay, and they have unique features, like they were smarter, they were more productive. We look at the people in the West Indies, like the Bahamas and the Caribbean. There were Black people there too, and these people, all of these people were exposed to slavery, but all of them did better than the Black people from the South. So he said, you can't blame it on slavery, you can't blame it on racism, because these are all Black people and they were all exposed to racism. They were all exposed to slavery. So how come these other groups, they did better than the Southern group? Okay, that's his question. It's a very valid question. So then he came up with the term Black redneck. Okay, so he actually has a book called Black Rednecks and Liberals. Okay, it's an interesting book if you want to read it.
Muslims have Mecca, Jews have Jerusalem, Christians have Cracker Barrel. All Christians love Cracker Barrel. Let me turn around. Cracker Barrel. Cracker Barrel sounds like white people who get Christians. I'm going to do that. Cracker Barrel is work. Cracker Barrel was back in the day. Cracker Barrel was back in the day. You know what's going next? It's being on the house. Why is the more racist we are, and that's not proof of else?
So that was just a little bit of a take on that was a Muslim comedian talking about that. And so that's the idea, that this is the racist version against white people. Now we're going to talk about this concept of Black rednecks that Sowell came up with. And so he said, when we look at these people, we see some unique features when it comes to the African Americans that were living in the South. And so I would like you to listen to this video.
Hey, yo, Black people, listen. I'm not that thirsty of a person to just believe anything that's about to tell me, but I am thirsty enough to talk about what pops up and be able to prove to me why that there's a very good chance that what this is saying is the truth.
When liberals look at people in ghettos, they say, racist, that's why they're not succeeding. And Sowell is saying, no, it's not. Because if you look at this group from the West Indies, they also came from the experience of slavery. They are also black, so they also face racism, and yet they do well. So it has to be something else. And what Saul was saying is that they were robbed of their culture. And so they picked up the culture of the people around them. The people around them were rednecks. And if you look at the white redneck culture and the black redneck culture, they have a lot of the same values. They don't particularly respect education. They love Jesus. They use violence in their conflicts. And even Islamic, which is, black English, is actually all from the Western English.
Okay, so that might be something kind of unique for you guys, that maybe you've never heard that before, but what we're talking about, so Thomas Sowell was saying that, wait a second here. This is very important, and this is very, very important, especially for African American people who are Muslim, because he's saying that the African Americans in this country were robbed of their culture. Their culture was taken away from them. We know this. We know that a lot of the people that came over to the United States as slaves were actually what from the get-go? Muslim. And so their culture was taken away from them. And so they tried to practice Islam, they tried to say Allah, and they tried to pray, but they were beaten sometimes to death. And that was the example to everybody else. If you're going to try to do what this guy did, you're going to die in a very painful way like he did. So their culture was taken away from them and was replaced with what? It was replaced with the white redneck culture. So he's saying that when we look at the African American experience in the Southeast United States, he said both the white and the black people share a lot of similar features. Now, why am I talking about this? Why is this important? Anybody know? Take a break. Very good, because this is also gangster culture. Excellent, excellent, well done. So the idea here is that this is gangster culture. Gangster culture, all the stuff that has become part of modern hip hop music, okay, which again, this is the stuff our kids are listening to. That's why we got to know about it. So for a lot of the brothers and sisters in this nation who came from another country and are hoping that by bringing their kids to the masjid and taking them to an Islamic school that they're going to be okay, you need to be aware of this. You need to say, hey, can I listen to your music? Can I see what you guys are listening to? I want to hear it. I want to understand what you guys are consuming. I'll tell you right now, the vast majority of our parents have no idea what their kids are consuming. Not at all. Kids go home, get home, we bought these nice big houses, right? Because we work so hard. And the kid goes up into his room, locks the door, and then you don't know what's going on in there. He's on the phone, he's on the computer, you don't know what he's listening to, what he's consuming. We have no idea. And this is what they're consuming. So hip hop music today, it wasn't like that 20, 30 years ago. Hip hop music today is all about gangster culture. It's all about, you don't need education. How are you going to make money? You're going to make money by stealing, or you're going to make money by robbing people, or you're going to make money by being a singer, by being a hip hop rapper. Okay, you're going to follow the wonderful example of people like Eminem who started out poor and looking at him now, so rich. Now, what's interesting here, I'll take a moment to talk about this, especially to you guys. Okay, so hip hop music. Who do you guys think listens to the most hip hop in this country? You think black people? Anybody else? No? White people. White people. White people buy a mile, not buy a country mile. Okay, so we're talking countries. So we're talking country with a whole bunch more. So we're talking about the vast majority, so 62% of the United States is essentially white. Okay, 62%. Maybe it's only about 20%, 25% that's black. And so I can tell you right now, not all black people are listening to hip hop. So where is it getting all that money? It's getting it from white people. A lot of white people are listening to this type of music. And so why do they have those themes? The themes of go against the police, kill people, do drugs, beat up women, rape women, treat women bad, spit on them, look down on them, use them, they're only good for one thing. Why are these concepts, these are repeated concepts in hip hop music today? Why do you think that is? Is that because that's how black people are? You think that's how they are?
Yeah.
Okay. Not all. So a lot. They think a lot. That's the part we're trying to talk about. That's where the racism comes in. And that is the truth. We look at your brothers. You got a bunch of brothers in here. They're black and they're not doing that type of thing at all. So why is this stuff in their music then? Makes the money. Very good. That's what sells. That's what people want to listen to. And remember, we just said who listens to this most? white people. And white people, they want to have, they think this is cool. We like the fact that black people are killing other black people. We love the fact that black people are selling drugs to other black people and keep them right where they are. We love the fact that black men are beating up black women. We like that. That's cool. This is the problem, okay? This is the problem. You listen to this type of thing and you get these types of ideas. And I'm really glad you guys answered honestly, because you see, this is what people think. So a vast majority of the United States think that's what black people are. That's exactly what they do. That's the kind of people they are. That's the furthest thing from the truth. That's why I wanted to show you. Whereas we can see all these supposed hip hop artists, okay, who are all making money at the expense of who? Their people, very good. They're making money at the expense of their own people, their own culture. Jay-Z makes a lot of money, he makes billions of dollars, okay, by suppressing his own people, by destroying his own people's culture. Sound like a hero to you? Sound like somebody you should look up to? That's why I told you, these are the worst human beings on earth right now, believe me. These are among them, okay? These types of things, because that's what they're doing. They are destroying their own people, their own culture. They're encouraging their own people to kill their own people. That's what's happening. So this is not something pleasant. This is not something good. And these are the things right here. We don't care about education. We don't need education. All we need to know is how to use a gun. All we need to know is have our group, have our gang, they, keep each other's back. We're going to steal. We're going to not respect the authority. We're going to remove every problem with a maximum amount of violence, and that's not good. So that's the black redneck that Thomas Sowell talks about. So what would you call? So these two boys in the picture, one old man in the middle, two young boys. They're kids, but what would you call them? Happy? Okay, that's nice. See, that's I'm really happy to hear these answers because it shows the innocence that you guys still have in you. Something I'm gonna love keep it in you long than I need. These kids, that's me and my brother when we were kids. And so we were called senators. That's what people used to call me, senators. Okay, because you're not black, so you can't really get bigger. But you're from that part of the world, the camels and sand and pyramids and stuff. So you're a senator. That's how we grew up. My brother, he's still suffering from that right now. He's still suffering the effects of that racism when we were kids. So we've had an enormous amount of racism against ourselves. I had one black young man who was my friend in high school. He was the only black person in my high school. And so like I said, you can imagine the things that he went through. So I understand how it feels. So a lot of Arabs that lived in this country, especially around southern whites. So I grew up in Maryland. And so we already talked about Maryland as part of that South. Okay. And that's how we were treated. That's what we were called. Okay. Because my lips are a little bit bigger than the white person's lips, and my hair when it grows out, it's like an afro, and so that's what we are. That's what they call us. And so I understand the concept, and yes, and so I understand the sensitivity to that word. So now let's talk about the N-word. I just used it. Okay, and again, I was using it in a very, trying to use it in a sensitive way by letting you know how I experienced it. So is it okay for black people to call others the N-word? That's my question to you. Good, okay? One person said no. But we just saw that video. You guys heard the video. I mean, were some of those kids calling each other the N-word, or was that just my ears? Yes, they were, okay? So, and that's the thing today, because again, this comes from where? Black culture, right? The gangster culture. The gangster culture that we're taught is black culture on hip hop music and black entertainment television and things like that. That you got black people running around calling each other the N-word. Okay? So when you ask the black person, why do you use that word? Because I thought that word was a word you didn't like. What's the answer? So why is it okay for black? What? You're not Muslims? Okay, that's good answer. You guys know sister? What do you think? Why do they say it's okay? Good, very good. They say we're reclaiming the word. This is what we talk about here, this right here, this linguistic reappropriation or cultural reappropriation. That's what the word means, okay? So the academic circles in the universities, they say, what we're doing here is that we're taking that word back. So white people were using that word against us, so we're gonna use the word against ourselves right now so that we can kind of use it in a way that makes us happy. You know where that idea first started? Anybody know? What was one of the words that before the N word was culturally reappropriated? There was another word, another racial epithet that was culturally cracker. So the white people, that's exactly what they said. They said, we're gonna reappropriate that word. We're gonna use that word against ourselves. We're gonna call ourselves crackers so that way the word loses its power. Okay, so that's so I asked you the question, so I'm gonna ask you guys, what do you guys think? Do you guys think it's okay for a black person to use that word against another black person or a white person? Because there's a lot of white people who acting like gangsters. We got some Muslim kids who are Arab and they see it, they want to act like gangsters too. So it's okay for one group to call the same group. Is that okay? Is it okay for one Arab kid to call another Arab kid the N-word? Anybody think it's okay? Somebody thinks it's okay. They're using that word, right? All right, so I thought, well, let's ask some people, okay, who are actually black, what they think about it. Let's see what they think. Who is allowed to say the N-word?
Honestly, not many people. People come up with big, you know.
Only black people are allowed to say the N-word. Point blank. I don't have a problem with any other black people saying it. I just think like be conscious of how you say it, where you're using it, the context, and don't use the hard ER, because that's really that.
I don't want people to ever forget that was the last word that some black men or women would have heard before they were killed, before they were raped, before they were assaulted. The word isn't what holds the power, it's the conditions that that word existed under that still perpetuates today.
All right, so the question I'm gonna ask, okay, so you just heard 5 different African American people give pretty much like 3 opinions, I think, right? So some people said black people should be allowed to do that, or black people can use that word against one another. That's okay. One guy, I really liked his answer. He said, you should remember that people died. Okay, civil rights people, they actually died so that that word would not be used ever again. That was the last word that a lot of people heard before they were murdered, before they were raped, before they were painfully beaten to death. Okay, that's the last word they heard. I don't really think we should be using it. Okay, and some people are kind of in the middle. So who's right? What do you guys think, young men and young ladies? Who's right? Everyone's right? Any thoughts, young ladies? Who's right? You're right. I think you are. Pretty sure you are. Yes, Andrew. Yeah, I like that one too. Personally, I would you, okay? But the problem is that there's a lot of opinions here. And as I said, I will tell you, Alhamdulillah, Las Vegas is a small community. We have a small group of people. You go to a bigger community like Dallas, Houston, Chicago, Los Angeles, okay? I'll tell you right now, if you don't know it, I'll tell you, there's a lot of Muslim kids of various backgrounds who are calling each other the N-word. Just like you heard kids from this lesson doing the exact same thing last week. Okay, so how are we going to figure it out? And this is the point I want you guys to understand, and nobody mentioned it, so I'm going to teach it to you right now, is that where do we make sense of this? Okay, how do we know what's right? This is how we know what's right, okay? So we know what's right because the Quran is the criteria. It is the Quran. One of the names of the Quran is Furqan. And Furqan, it means criteria. Criteria meaning what? What do you guys think? I don't care. You know, closer, I don't care.
I don't want to be
I'll read it to you. So, what does it mean right here? Anybody?
What's right and what's wrong?
Very good. It tells us the difference between what's right and what's wrong. Okay? That's what it is. We want to know what's right and what's wrong. So the Quran tells us, so I don't need to ask somebody and say, well, you're black. So is it okay for me to use that word? Or is it okay for other people to use that word? Because I really don't care what their opinion is. Because I can say the same thing. I say, well, people call me a sand digger when I was a kid. So I have the right to use that word because they use it against me. So I'm gonna go around and call my buddies and say, hey, sand digger. Is that okay? But again, you're saying no, someone else says yes. So how do we know the truth? We know the truth from the Quran. That's the idea that I want you guys to understand. The most important thing you can learn from this right now is that we don't go and ask other people, we return to the Quran. The Quran is our guide. So Allah told us something very important. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا يسخر قوم من قوم عسى أن يكونوا خيرا منهم ولا نساء من نساء عسى أن يكون خيرا منهم ولا تلمزوا أنفسكم ولا تنابزوا بالألقاب بئس اسم الفسوق بعد الإيمان ومن لم يتب فأولئك هم الظالمون. Allah's telling us right here the answer to that question that I was asking. So He's telling us. You could have done right. Thank you, fine. You stay right. Go on. Let's continue. Okay, so Allah's telling us here the answer to that question, which is don't insult one another, don't call each other by offensive nicknames. How evil is the name of disobedience after you have become a Muslim? Okay, so now the question that I want to ask is, okay, is that word offensive? Is the N-word offensive? Is there anybody that disagrees? Is it, if you disagree, you think it's not offensive? Everybody agrees it's offensive, right? There's nobody who says, oh yeah, that's totally cool. Everybody says, yeah, that's a sensitive word. You know, so even if someone says it's okay for this group to use it with this group, they still say it's sensitive. You better be careful, okay? Because if you're a different nationality, a different ethnic group or racial group, you use that word, I might take that very personal. So we don't do that. We don't call each other by bad names. That's not something we do as Muslims at all. And we don't do that to other people as well. This is the behavior of the believer. And that's the very important thing I want you guys to get out of this. We don't call each other that. So no matter what you're learning from music or what you're learning from TikTok or YouTube or movies that you watch, we don't do that type of thing. We don't call each other bad names. All right? Any questions on that? There's none? Or young ladies? All right, so here's a story about Bilal and Abu Dhar. So these are, because you guys don't know much about the companions, so I want to teach you a little bit. You guys know Bilal, right? What do you call him? It's black, okay. What else do you know about him? Oh, no. He did something special. Anybody know? Huh? Yes. He used the first one. Very good. He had a very, very normal voice. And so he used to call the other. So here's the thing. Bilal was very, very special. Okay? Bilal is one of the people that the Prophet ﷺ, he knew that he was going to be in Jannah before he died. Okay, in fact, one time the Prophet ﷺ dreamt that he was walking in Jannah and he heard the footsteps or the sandal scraping of Bilal. He said, I heard you last night in Jannah. He said, what are you doing? What are you doing that gets you into Jannah? Anybody know what he was doing? Right. Right, what kind of prayer? So I look at after what? After wudu, very good. So we call it Sunnahfollowers. Some people they call it Sunnahfollowers. Okay, it is to pray 2 rakats after a wudu. So Bilal was doing that on his own. He would make wudu and then he would go pray 2 rakats. And the Prophet said, that action, I done with that. Okay, Bilal is a very special person. Bilal is one of the early Muslims. He suffered enormously for the sake of Islam. He is one of the elite of the Sahaba. Okay, Abu Dhar is also one of the early Muslims. Okay, Abu Dhar, he actually was a gangster. Talking about gangsters, he actually was a gangster. He was from the tribe of the Ifad, and the Ifad, they were highway robbers. And subhanAllah, he accepted Islam. One of the early people to accept Islam, subhanAllah. So one time, Abu Dhar was talking to Bilal, many years later, after becoming Islam. And he got upset with Bilal, and he said, "You son of a black woman." Oh, very good. Okay, so Bilal got upset. But you look at it. Look at how do you think Bilal responded to that? He's not going to beat you up?
No.
What did he do? He walked away, okay? He didn't hurt him. But he said, remember what I want you guys to remember is that when we have a disagreement, where do we go? Huh? Quran and Sunnah. We go back to the Quran and Sunnah. We don't settle this by fighting. We don't yell at each other. We don't play the games. We go back to the Quran and Sunnah. So he said, I'm going to go and tell the Prophet ﷺ about you. I'm going to tell the Prophet ﷺ what you said about him. So he went. And he told the Prophet ﷺ. What did the Prophet ﷺ respond with? Anybody remember? What? Very good, excellent. He said, you are a man that still has ignorance in you. Okay? Or as we would say today, you are an ignorant person. Okay? That's what he told him. You're ignorant. Ignorant why? What's the ignorance coming from? But where is the idea on this issue? What do you guys think? Why is this ignorant?
These classes,
Very good. He's looking at him by this is the only guys who participate too, so you guys are yelling otherwise I'm not gonna come over here. So he's classifying him by race. He's treating him according to race. He's speaking about him according to race. Is this part of our team? Are you sure?
Yeah.
I think some people from last week, they might disagree with you. They sure as heck were talking about each other according to race. But so again, is this a practice of Islam? No, it's not a practice of Islam. It's a practice of what? Jahiliyyah, but right now let's put Jahiliyyah in modern terms. What is it?
It's gonna help you with clicking it.
There you go. You can sit down, I'll tell you. So the ignorance of today, this is part of that culture that we're talking about here. This culture that's spreading in the world today. It's not just spreading in America, it's spreading all over the world. Okay, so kids in Muslim countries are starting to act like gangsters too. Okay, a lot of people around the world right now are starting to say this is where the power is. We're going to talk about why it's in a minute, but that's not who we are. We don't talk about each other. When I look at you, okay, I'm looking at my brothers. I'm not looking at, well, this guy's this and this guy's that, skin color and skin color. Doesn't matter. Okay, and what did we learn from the Quran? Ya ayyuhan nas. He's addressing people here, not addressing believers. He said, Ya ayyuhan nas, O mankind, إِذَا خَلَقْنَاكُمْ مِنْ ذَكَرٍ وَأُنثَى وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا وَقَبَائِلَ لِتَعَارَفُوا. Okay, we created you, men and women, in different tribes, in different backgrounds, ethnicities, so that you would get to know one another, so you would come to appreciate one another. So when I sit with somebody who is from a different background than me, I should be able to appreciate that person. I should be able to gain something from that person. I should be able to love that person and say, hey, I really like how you do that. You know what? I really like your food. I don't tell my wife that, but I wish I could have this wrong. That's what we're supposed to be talking about. We're not supposed to be talking about, this guy, I don't know, he's from I don't like his color, and I don't like the way he dresses. That's not Islam at all. We are supposed to get to know one another. And so Allah then gives us the real stripe, the real message in that brother and Allah. the most honored among you. We're looking for honor, right? Everybody wants to be, who's the higher status? The highest status has nothing to do with your color, has nothing to do with what language you speak, has nothing to do with what country you were born in. It has everything to do with your relationship with Allah. That's it. And I think we all can agree upon this. We have probably, all of us have met people in this country, in the United States, okay? People who accepted Islam that put us to shame. Okay, put the people back home, quote unquote, to shame. Okay, I've seen people who accepted Islam in this country that they would be looking at their watch and standing on the prayer mat, waiting for the time for the prayer to enter. While the people who were born in Muslim countries are saying, oh, alhamdulillah, I didn't pray Dhuhr, but also it's still another hour away. I still have plenty of time. You see how we look at it? Well, as long as Asr doesn't come, even if there's 2 minutes, it's not time to pray Dhuhr. But we all know the hadith of Prophet said that Allah loves what? He loves that you pray in its time. You pray early in its time. So there are people who are like that. I've met white American people, black American people who have memorized the Quran. I'm still waiting to meet somebody from Hispanic background, but they're coming. There's a whole lot more people accepting Islam from the Hispanic continent. So, but we don't memorize the Quran. You see? So nothing to do with where you're coming from. It has everything to do with your relationship with Allah. And that's why the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in the hadith in the Tirmidhi, which is an authentic hadith, people are of two types: righteous and pious, who are near to Allah, and the evildoers who are significant before Allah. That's it. He didn't say black and white. He didn't say red and yellow or any other color that you have in your mind. He said people are of two types: the righteous and the corrupt. That's it. So that's the decision we have to make, is where we're going to be and where our families are going to be in that regard. And then the other hadith, which is in Shehata, it is from the Muslim Imam Ahmad, where it was in the Khutbah al-Wada, the last speech of the Prophet he said, "O people, your Lord is one and your Father is one. There is no superiority of an Arab over a non-Arab, or of a non-Arab over an Arab, or of a red man over a black, or a black man over a red, except in terms of taqwa. Have I conveyed the message?" And that's it. So the Arab people don't have any special privilege or special, and the only thing that the Arab people have that's special is that, alhamdulillah, we have the Arabic language. So it gives us at least a little bit of a head start. But it's kind of like the tortoise in the air. You know that story, right? You remember that story when you were kids? Okay, the tortoise in the air. So the air is like, oh, I'm fast. This tortoise is so slow. He's never going to catch up with me. I'm just going to take a nap. So the tortoise, step by step, keeps going. But he wins the race because the rabbit is much faster at sleeping. That's what's happening right now. So the Arabic people, we have that, because we have that advantage, only if you use it. You have to see if you use it. You have to use it. What's going to happen with that? You know, people are bypassing this. We look at the largest groups of Muslims in the world. They're not in the Arab countries. They're in Malaysia, Indonesia, and Africa. Okay? Those are the people who are memorizing the Quran in high rates. So look at that. So remember, and this is, again, all of this is to show that there is no racism in Islam. So please, young men, young ladies, we're not going to do that. We're not going to act like ignorant people. Because the people who run around calling each other the N-word, they are what? Ignorant. That's it. That's what I want you to get. They're ignorant people. Don't be one of them. That's the idea. Back to the text of really fun. Before I forget, sorry. People that one. Forgot about this. So our culture, this is very important. So, sorry. There you go. So the idea is our culture, okay, is Islam. All right. So again, there are things that don't matter. Okay, you might say, well, I'm from Pakistan, and so I like to eat this type of food, and I like to dress a certain way. Okay, that's fine. That's culture that melds into Islam. Okay, one say that, okay, I'm Palestinian, I wear the Qadiyah, and that's part of my culture. Okay, now we get part of the Muslim culture because we're all in it for Palestine, right? So these are things that can be part of the culture that can be adopted, okay, by others. But what we have to remember at the end of the day is that we are Muslim. That's our culture. This is why this is a very interesting statement here, which is the spread of the Islamic culture. When Islam spread, there is a culture that came with it that spread. So in your own home, you have to ask yourself, is this what I'm doing that I say is my culture? Is it part of Islam or not part of Islam? Is it going against Islam or not going against Islam? I'll tell you an experience that my daughter had. at the university where she said, I get really frustrated with people because when they find out that my dad is Egyptian with me, they say, well, how come you don't have the Egyptian culture? And she said, because in my house, we live as Muslims. Our culture in our home is Islam. My dad is not pushing any type of Egyptian stuff on us, he's pushing Islamic stuff on us. And that's part of the problem, that why should people not people get along with a lot of people, Muslim people, because of this issue. Because people are thinking, you should, why don't you eat this, or why don't you know these singers, or why don't you know these movies? When did this become part of us? That I should know, again, certain singers and certain movie actors and certain kind of stuff. So be careful about that. And that's when I ask you the question, what are you? Are you a Palestinian or are you Muslim? Are you an Egyptian or Muslim? Pakistani or Muslim? Are you Nigerian or Muslim? Are you Indonesian or Muslim? Yeah, you can be Muslim. But I have these nice things from my country that I really like. These schools, I like to wear certain clothing that is very comfortable for me, and it's part of my culture. Alhamdulillah. I like to wear that too. I have a friend who's from Bangladesh. Anybody from Bangladesh here? Okay. What's this thing that you guys are out Lungi? Lungi. Lungi, yeah. He gave me one, I love it. I still wear it. It gives me 4 years ago. I still wear it. I buy it. And so again, I'm not like this, but again, it's something that doesn't interfere with the sound. So I'm gonna help you can do that. And so there are certain people in here who are from one culture, they love the food from another. So that's the thing. Now we're going to talk about another issue which is regarding this gangster culture, which is toxic masculinity. Okay, the toxic masculinity. Okay, I'll read this really quickly in our translation. Okay, without socioeconomic opportunities. Okay, gangs use violence to dominate and subordinate rivals to maintain their place as the superior men in the community. We basically say, if we don't give young men an alternative, if we don't give them opportunity, then what are they going to do? They're going to gang up. Okay, and they're going to fight each other. Because young men have that energy. That's what they have. They have that energy. They want to prove stuff. They want to prove something. Okay? Don't know what they want to prove, but they want to prove something. So there's high levels of violence. They are used to prove gang members' masculinity. And a lot of times this translates into gender-based violence. Okay? That you are a real man. You put your woman in her place. Okay? Long time ago, there was a brother, I'm not going to say from where. Young man, 20 years old, 19, something like that. He got married really young. I think he got married when he was 17, his wife was 15 or something like that. Okay, here in America. And he used to attend some of my classes. And so one day I get a phone call from his wife and she said, isn't my husband in your classes? I said, yes. He said, do you agree with him beating me? I would that. So, well, what did I ever come up with? She said, well, he beats me all the time. He beats me ferociously. He was 16 or something. It doesn't matter. She's 16, she's okay, she's 30, he's beating her. No, it doesn't matter. He's beating his wife, that's it, that's all we know. So I went to him and I said, yeah, why are you beating your wife? And so he said, you know what? There's a hadith in Sunnah Abi Dawud. So over the book of Abi Dawud, the hadith, the collection, there's a hadith there, which says, don't remember the exact Arabic of it, but it basically says, a man should not be questioned about beating his wife. Hadith. In Abu Dawud. So he told me, he said, there is a hadith in Abu Dawud that a man should not be questioned about beating his wife. So why are you questioning me? So what Abu Dawud with that hadith? Young ladies, what do you think? Any ideas? Is that part of Islam, you think? You don't think so. Boys don't think so either. So why put it there then? Is it a personal? Okay, how about this? Is it an authentic hadith? Do you think it's authentic or what do you think? You think we believe. So why would it be the hadith? It is relevant, extremely relevant, but how? Okay. Anybody know why? Why would he put it? It's a weak hadith. Why put it in this collection? It is relevant, we have to make it relevant. The idea that I would know why he put that hadith in his collection, even though he knows it's weak, he wants to draw attention to it so nobody else will use it. So when somebody, some ignorant person comes up and says, I'm allowed to beat my wife, and you don't have a right to question me about it, then we'll say, yeah, that's a weak hadith. That's not part of the Sunnah of the Prophet. In fact, everything we know from the Sunnah is the opposite. So once a woman came to the Prophet ﷺ, she said, 2 men proposed to me. I want your opinion. Tell me who I should marry. He said, well, I'll tell you about both of them. He said, one of them, he's a wife beater. I wouldn't marry him. And the other guy, he's really, really poor. He doesn't have 2 cents, okay, to his name. So basically, he was telling her, keep looking. Okay? This is the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. So this is our, we don't have this. We don't have gender-based violence, okay? We don't have violence between each other, okay? And so there is a clear link between harmful definitions of masculinity and violence, okay? And so you find these young guys trying to prove that they're real men. So as a result of that, we get this, okay? So you have the why. This is the question that I wanted to talk about today. Why are our young men, why are young Muslim men, okay, these young men here, these boys, okay, why are they trying to act like gangsters? Why are they thinking that maybe I think it's cool to be a gangster? I think it's cool to walk around and do this type of thing and wear bracelets or chains or whatever the heck this stuff is supposed to mean. I don't know. Okay, why should I hang my pants down? Okay, walk around with my pants around my knees. Why am I supposed to? Why is that something? Why are we talking about this? Okay, and this is the why. Is because we're not giving them any other opportunity. We don't give them anything. So, in the absence of the truth, okay, what happens is you get this deviation, this unnatural behavior. So Allah is again, if you look at the end of Surah Al-Hadid, it's a very interesting ayah. At the end of Surah Al-Hadid, which talks about monasticism. Allah is saying, monasticism that they created. It's a bid'ah. Ibtada'uha. The Christians, they made it up. And that's what it is. They made it up. Allah says, I never told them to do this. This was never a command from me to tell them, don't get married. So the men, they said, the priests, they said, what? They said, we're not going to get married. We're gonna live in these towers as monks. We're gonna eat small amount of food. We're gonna wear the same outfit every single day, and we're gonna devote ourselves to praying and fasting and reading the scripture. Allah never told them to do that. All right. So he says, he said they made it up, and then they couldn't fulfill it. They couldn't do it. They said, we're going to do this. And then they said, what does that mean? They couldn't do it. This is history. You guys know. What does it mean? What's
Like that.
You talked about this in class. What does it mean that they didn't do it? It's the same. They're talking about this. Okay, so we guys are all, I think most of the young people that didn't see it, they know this. Okay, so back in the early 2000s, there was this huge thing that came out, like the Me Too movement, and this was the priest movement. Okay, who's been raped by their priest? Oh, and everybody's standing up. All these people are saying, I've been raped by my priest. Yeah, when I was a kid, my priest raped me. In fact, he raped me for 10 years straight. Okay, and all this medical illness that was going around because priests were raping kids. And if you go back in history, if you go back to your humanities and you look at other things, you'll find all kinds of really interesting stories about priests doing all kinds of things that they're not supposed to do. Because they said, we're not going to have a relationship with a woman or anybody else. We're not going to have any sexual relationship at all. But then they were having all kinds of deviant behavior. Why? What's not all This is an available. The idea is this, do you know? There's a conversation on the seven always around the border. The idea here is this is the point of this act, is that whenever you suppress something that Allah has made a part of our fiqh, it's going to come out some other way. Allah said you should get married. So if you say, I'm not going to get married, and you have the desire, it's going to come out in the wrong way. It's going to come out in a different way. So with our young men, okay, so this is historical. Forever, young men are filled with energy, They're built, they wanna, they're just, you guys know, and people who have boys, you know, the boys, they're just full of energy. Like, if you turn around, they're jumping off the roof and they're, doing crazy things. I'm gonna ride the motorcycle, I'm gonna do all these flips and back flips and break bones and all. And you're like, stop, just sit down, and they won't, they're just, you go, right? Oh my God, you guys are different boys than me. You all, is that you? Oh, you're boys. Am I right? Anybody agree or disagree or something talk to me? You agree with your points? What do you think, mothers? Agree, think somebody's saying. So that's the idea here, is that we're not giving boys something to do. Okay, then this is what we're gonna get. We're gonna get that type of behavior. So here's the idea. If you don't do this, okay? Okay, so you've got, this is actually a medical study, okay? Reducing aggression with martial arts. Reducing aggression in our Muslim boys, okay? Our boys have aggression. They're normal, that's natural, it's normal, it's part of them growing up. This is part of testosterone and hormones, things like that. They have aggression. So we have to direct that aggression. You can't just tell them, sit down and memorize them out. Memorize is very good, but they need something else. They need other releases, okay? And so whether they do Kung Fu, martial arts, they do UFC, play basketball, but how many people have been saved by sports? I don't know. I played sports in my high school in varsity, and that saved me from doing a lot of really bad things in my life. Because I was part of something, I was exerting. So after high school was over, after classes were over, we would go and run class for like 2 hours. Okay, and hit each other with sticks and balls and all kinds of things. And you go home and you're tired. But our boys are going home and they don't have any physical activity. They don't even have physical application classes anymore. So they're full of energy. So they gotta do something. So we don't do this, you're gonna get this stuff. So this shirt is called what? The life leader, okay? And it's called the life leader because of this guy here. You guys don't know this, but this is from Street Fighting Desires, a famous book to play. And this guy was actually dating his wife. And the fact that he committed suicide in the end from all of his aggression towards her. But this shirt, okay, walking around outside with this shirt, this tank top, this undershirt, okay, it became known as the life leader. So people walking around like that, oh, life leader. So who likes to wear this? Gang members like to wear this. They like to wear the bandana, walk around outside, doing this. Okay, with their wife being like, don't mess with me, I'll beat my wife, I'll beat you too. Okay, is that what it is? It's never happened to you. I'm gonna tell you, if you are sheltered, I don't want you to see this. When you go down the streets of downtown in Los Angeles, you're gonna see, go to Los Angeles, go to Chicago, you're gonna see this. Okay, this is where that comes from. It comes from aggression that doesn't know where to go. Okay, I don't know where to put it. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go kill somebody. I'm gonna go beat somebody to death, okay? This is not normal. But again, when we suppress that which is normal, it comes out in the unnatural. So there is something called toxic masculinity, all right, which is the wrong kind of masculinity. There is a concept that nobody likes to talk about today. Worthy of its own topic, worthy of its own discussion, of Rujula. Okay, Rujula. So Rujula is the Islamic study of how to be a man. Okay, and it revolves around these 2 ayat. So, من المؤمنين رجال صدقوا ما عاهدوا الله عليه and الرجال قوامون على النساء. These 2 ayat are the central point of the concept of Rujula. Okay, and basically it reflects taking responsibility for providing security to society, which includes families from outward harm. Men, real men, okay? Real men are responsible. Now, when we start talking about gangster culture, do they have real men? Why? Tell me. Either wife, they don't have a wife. They never get even, but they don't get the process of something. But you're right, they need a girlfriend, which they call what? What do they call their girlfriend? They do notice the B word, because you can call someone else. If she has a kid, for example, what do they call it? Baby mama. So you got my baby mama or my daddy mama? Okay, so baby daddy, big daddy, right? Baby daddy, baby mama. Those are the two things, right? And I'm like, what are we talking about, right? How are people talking about this today? Like, we're supposed to be evolving, right? We're not supposed to be going backwards, we're going backwards. Baby mama and daddy mama, okay, or a baby daddy, okay? So that's what it is. There is no such thing as a father and a mother. Now, what's interesting, if you go back in the African American experience, okay, we're not talking about Africa, we're not talking about anything in America. Go back in the African American experience in the 30s. The rate of marriage in the African American community was higher than the white. More black people were married than the white people were, even though the black people were the minority. Okay, more white people got divorced than black people. How did we get to this point? I don't know. Okay, but part of it, I think, is because of this culture, which is being taught, which is being said, when the people listening to this music and watching things like blackness and things on television, and saying this is the way you're supposed to be. You're not supposed to get married. You're supposed to have relationships with as many women as you want. Okay, have kids with all of them, and you don't have to support any of them because they're all going to go get, benefits. And that's what's happening. This is not responsibility. This is not Wujula. Wujula is responsibility. So what Allah is telling us here, two things. What did they swear to Allah that they were going to do? They said, Allah, if we have to fight, we're going to fight. We're going to fight for real. If we are called to do something, they're called to defend, we're going to defend. That's what a real man does. And when the devil told well, this is a very, very misunderstood ayah. Okay? Men are the protectors of women. A man is supposed to protect his family in all respects. It's not just physical. It's not just getting a house and making sure that you pay the rent and pay the utilities. It goes deeper than that. It goes all the way deep down to making sure that they're okay, that they're being taught, that they're spiritually prepared, all of that. Men are responsible for that. We are responsible for that as parents. So true manhood is not being abusive to women and girls, nor neglecting the responsibility to protect them. Women should feel safe and protected by Muslim men, meaning safe from being harmed by them physically and dishonored by them emotionally, as well as feeling secure that Muslim men will stand up and protect them from outside threats, even if it means those men will sacrifice their lives for them in the process. Okay? That means if we're going to die, to protect our families, we're going to die. That's what a real man is supposed to do. Now, again, you need to go home and think about that and say, okay, am I meeting that definition or not? Because that's what a real man is about. It's like, I'm going to protect my family and make sure that they're well. So, now we're talking about imitation criminals. Okay, so now this concept, okay, so our kids imitating these gangsters, okay? Or these gangster-like people, okay? So Prophet ﷺ, he said, there's two authentic hadiths. He said, you will certainly follow the ways of those who came before you, handstand by handstand, inch by inch. Even if they were to go into the hole of the listeners, you will go after them. You will go into the hole of the listeners. So the Sahaba, they said, Ya Rasulullah, who do you mean? Is it the Jews and the Christians? He said, who else? So what does this mean, go into the hole of the listeners? What do you guys think? What is it? Pretty good. So he said, if one of them, if one of the hole of the church, you're going to see somebody from Michael and go into the hole. How about it? What does it mean? Go into the hole of the church. It's okay. It's a hard Anybody else? You're very smart. Okay. So why would somebody jump into a well or why would somebody go into a liquor store? What do you think they're doing? You're just starting. You're honest. What do you think? Okay, so they're trying to follow somebody. What do you think? Anyway. Why would anybody in here go into a liquor hole? You think it's was there in there for you? You're probably right. Is it something that makes sense or doesn't make sense? How about that? It doesn't make sense at all, okay? It's something that doesn't make sense. So the Prophet is telling us here, if somebody does something that makes no sense, for example, walk around with their pants down by their head, by their knees, and so you can look at their underwear or looking at their butt, okay? Walking around like that, like this, they can't make a full step, okay? Then you're gonna find someone who might want to do the same thing. Just like, can anybody in here tell me why, does it make sense to put your pants down here? No, it doesn't make sense. There's no, so why do they do it? Why do people do it?
Is it crazy?
They don't know. Attention, okay. So actually, I think you're trying to be silly, but you're actually right. The reality is that this comes from jail culture, okay? When they would get pants that were too big for them, okay? So it's all about, again, jail culture, gangster culture, criminal culture, it's all the same. Then they didn't have the pants that would fit them in jail, so their pants were always dragging them down, that's how it was. And so people got used to seeing that and said, I want to do that. Okay, because it looks cool, because all my guys in prison, they used to do that too. It doesn't make any sense, and you still find people from this ummah doing that. And that's why the Prophet said this, he said, with whatever imitates the people is like them. Okay, he is like, so the imitated disbeliever, you're basically look at as a disbeliever. Yes. Where did I get this from? No, this is that again. The fact is just wearing guidance, but if you're imitating somebody, that's normal. So it depends on your intent. The concept itself, so that's the idea here. So be very careful. Again, parents are telling you this. If you see your kids doing something that doesn't make sense, you need to stop them and say, what are you doing? We're Muslim. This is not part of Islam. You have to be, because the kids are doing this. The parents, where are the parents at? So what is the thug life? Okay, so thug life, this is a big thing today. People going around saying thug life means, thug life means. So if you guys don't know about it as parents, okay, look it up, okay? But these kids, they know about it. They understand exactly what I'm talking about right now. So thug life actually comes from this guy that was killed, okay, that was shot and killed, okay, murdered, Tupac, okay, the singer. And he actually, supposedly, thug life was actually a good idea in the beginning. And it actually is an acronym that stands for something. I can't tell you exactly what it stands for because it has bad words in it, but essentially he's saying the hate you give little infants destroys everyone. Okay? And so that's, you understand. So the hate you give little infants, so if you teach kids to hate, okay, then it destroys the whole society. So you say when our kids are growing up and hate, racism, sexism, police brutality, it destroys life for everybody. Is that a good concept or a bad concept? Huh? It's a good concept. Well, what's bad about it? He's saying we should not teach children hate. We should not teach children to grow up with police brutality. Okay, we should not teach children to grow up with racism. Okay, so kids like me, we should not grow up hearing the N-word. Okay, we should not be called that. We should not be singled out and said, you don't belong. You're not one of us. You're teaching people that that they're different, is that they should be hated. And so that's what the Bible was trying to say. Okay, now here's the thing: is that's what he said. Okay, is that I don't know how thug life actually worked out? No. Okay, so what happens is that by 2015, white kids, okay, they said the biggest consumers of hip hop, they were already using thug life for themselves. These kids that are living in multi-million-dollar houses, driving BMWs and stuff like that, they were saying thug life. They see some white kid who's never lived in a black neighborhood. Okay, walking around with chains and pants unlocked by their knees and carrying a gun or something like that, and saying thug life. Okay, so next slide. So what thug life turned into is this. So that's the reality. That this is what people are doing, that they're drug use, alcohol use, stealing, okay? They glorify stealing and say it's a good day, and it's your right, and these people have insurance anyways. So you see these mobs that go into Walgreens and CVS, Target, Lowe's, and Home Depot, and steal bunches of things, and they go try to resell that because they say, well, you owe me. How do I owe you? So that's what they're doing, selling drugs to make money, using women as objects. So anybody who's watched, entertainment that comes out of the black community, which is supposed to be cultural, they're seeing women who are almost naked, who are all they do is they're dancing and having kids and being fake and every loss. This is what they're teaching out of black girls, and this is wrong. All of it is wrong. Violence, especially against your own people, so spread through the Islamic community with the Raza versus Raza, that one race is killing the same race. Okay? So the vast majority of people that kill black people in the United States are other black people. The vast majority of people that kill Hispanics in the United States are other Hispanics. This is wrong. This is what thug life is turned into. And ignorant, uneducated behavior. So Allah He told us in this ayah, وَزَيَّنَ لَهُمُ الشَّيْطَانُ أَعْمَالَهُمْ فَصَدَّهُمْ عَنِ السَّبِيلِ وَكَانُوا مُسْتَبْصِرِينَ. Shaitan, he comes to you and he comes to try to make sin, make disobeying Allah look good. Okay, so he comes to you and he says, he tries to twist it in this type of way. So people think, oh, I want to be like these people. I want to look that way. I want to get respect that when I go out on the street, these young men who are not listening right now, when you guys go out on the street, the respect is not going to come from wearing these types of clothes or acting like a gangster. Respect is something you build from who you are, your character. But this is not what is being taught. And that's why there's always this violence, because people are disrespecting one another. So Shaitan comes, and this is the concept that says he. And it's not just related to this, it's related to everything else in your life. Every type of sin. Shaitan comes and tells you, no. It's actually very good. No, the people who are told this is haram, they don't know what they're talking about. This is the best thing. This is the only way. And he comes and tells you about good things. He says, no, this is wrong. You want to be this kind of believer? The only people who come to the message, the only people who are praying, the only people who are fasting and reading Quran are losers. They don't have any time. They're not making money. That's why they have time to read Quran and pray all this time. They're losers. You gotta be out there making money. You gotta be out there. This is the disease of the Shaitan. Next slide, please. So I want to talk a little bit more about that. I didn't find this out of time. So last thing I want to talk about is the parenting. Okay. So whose job is parenting? As far as not for you guys, it's for your parents. Is it the job of the Muslim school to parent? Is it the job of the masjid to parent? No, it's not. It is the job of the parents to do these things. The other parts, the masjid, the programs at the masjid, the Islamic school, they are accessories that they help with raising the child, but they don't raise the child. And that's why I'm telling you that you have to be, I hear this, I put this up here because I hear this from, I'm not sure of Muslim parents. They say, I want to be my parent, my child's friend. I want them to know that I'm their friend and they can come to me. You are not their friend. You should not be, when they're 30, be their friend. But when they're less than that, they need a parent, they don't need a friend. They need someone who's going to tell them this is wrong and you're not going to do it. And I don't care what you think, I'm taking away your privilege. Because you can't do this. This is the job of the parent. There's nobody else that can do that. But it requires what? It requires you to be part of their life. I always tell you guys that don't fall into the trap of the American dream, as they call it. But some people say you have to be asleep to actually experience it. Okay? That's why they call it a dream. The American dream, getting a big house, getting a nice car, and having all the nice money, and going and eating the nice food. This is what you've been programmed to believe. Not harm, very good. Here's a good example. Is it harm? No, it's not harm. But what's happening in order to get to it? Are we doing harm? Since you said the answer, tell me. Are we committing harm to get to that point? Is anybody? I'm asking you, how many people are you thinking? If people were doing their job, we wouldn't be having this problem. Okay? 30 years ago, okay, when I was just a little under 20, okay, I used to say, inshallah, when I get to be an adult, people like me, first generation Americans, we're going to have learned Islam and we can start running this out. Okay? So no disrespect to anybody in the board or any imam. But the problem is, I still hear it still today. The vast majority of imams in the United States and Canada are from where? Born and raised in their country or coming from another country? Another country. I'm talking about 95, 96%, if not more. So where's the problem? Is that you've got somebody that was raised in Egypt, somebody raised in Pakistan, okay? Trying to raise a kid, trying to help a kid raised in America. The people in Pakistan, the Pakistani military, they don't know anything about what we're talking about right now. They have no concept about gangster violence, gangster culture, who the heck is who about, who is this pub daddy? I don't know, what are you talking about? Daddy and mommy and they don't know any of this stuff. And so they're trying to teach our kids something, our kids cannot relate to them. They can't understand each other. Why is that the case? Why do we not have local imams anymore? 30 years later. You don't have enough kids in the United States? Nobody wants to be an imam. Because we thought of the American dream. We said, well, be an imam. Crazy. Nobody wants to be an imam. What are you going to make? $60,000, $70,000? No, man, don't care if you're a doctor. Make $300,000. You have a nice big house. This is the idea. It used to be a long time ago. Who were the people that we put into Islamic studies? Huh? No, before, in the early generations. The very best people, the smartest people, the people with the strongest memories, the people who were the best orators, people that could speak the best, most eloquent, they were the ones going to the Islamic schools. But because we changed, we started to care more about dunya, that now we put the people that they can't get into anything else, we put them in the Imam book. This is the problem. And as a result, we're reaping what we sow. So that's the question you have to ask yourself. Is it okay? I'm working. For what? What are you working for? I want to get a big house so that my family will be safe. So everybody will have their own bedroom. Okay, so now you've got 4 apartments in your house. 1 for every kid. When they come home, they go lock the door. Okay? So on the phone, on the computer, you have no idea what to do. Used to be, you only have 1 room, everybody's together. I ask parents all the time, do you know what your kids are consuming on the internet? No idea. Who are they talking to on the phone? Well, I don't know. Sure, I think maybe somebody from the message, yeah, right. Okay? Talking to his girlfriend, talking to her boyfriend. Other than that, sometimes the boy talking to his boyfriend, okay? And things like that. That's what's happening. I'm not joking, I'm just not joking, guys. This is what's happening. We're living in this society. What do you think you're gonna get? When everything they see on TV is gay is good. Homosexuality is the right way, be transgender. What do you think they're gonna do? This is what's happening. And I want you to believe me that my phone never stops, okay? All week long, people contacting me. I don't know what to do with my son. I don't know what to do with my daughter. My daughter wants to do this. My son wants to do this. My son's telling me that he wants to have a relationship with another man. My daughter, she thinks that she's a man. All these times, where is this coming from? It's coming from the fact that we're not being met. It means that we have to sit with our kids. We have to sit with them. I'll share a story with you guys, okay? That there was, recently, there was a tafsir class, okay? And I encouraged certain families. I said, hey guys, come on, this is a good opportunity. Sit with your kids. 2 hours a week. Sit, learn some tafsir. All of you together. Nobody signed up. Nobody. What are you doing? So I want you guys to ask yourself this question. What are we doing? How come kids are doing this? They're calling each other these names. They're using these bad words. Why? Part of it is, and I love you. That's why I'm telling you this. Because maybe you'll hate me after this, and I'm sorry if you hate me after this. But I love you, and that's why I have to tell you this. It's because we're not doing our job. We're not doing our job as parents. We think that the Islamic school is going to raise our kids, or the Imam is going to raise our kids, or the Sunday school is going to raise our kids, or somebody's going to raise our kids, but it's not me. Because I'm too busy, my wife is too busy working, we're both working. Why are you working at me? Because we need to buy a $400,000 house. We need to pay the insurance on the 5 cars that we have, the 5 luxury cars that we have. Because we need to afford the family vacation to Italy. What? This is where the problem is. We're not taking this issue seriously. And we think because we're thinking like back home. In Egypt, in Palestine, in Sudan, South Africa, in Pakistan, in Indonesia, doesn't happen. Okay, you can go ahead and let the family, let the city raise their kids. So the thing is that if you didn't do your job, the street will do the job for you, okay? You tell your son, go to the masjid, and they will take care of it. But this is America. And America is gonna swallow your kids whole. And they're not gonna be that for you. So I'm telling you this now, because I don't want anyone of you to call me in a few years and say, that means my son's addicted to drugs, I don't know what to do. My son is an alcoholic, I don't know what to do. My daughter, she ran away with her boyfriend, and I don't know what to do. Because I get these phone calls from a lot of other people, I don't want you to be those people. You understand me? So I hope that's a good box. So that is not a lot of things. I asked a lot of them, this is better. I hope it opens some eyes and help us to kind of understand a little bit more about this issue so that we will not fall into this. What happened last week will not happen again. I don't know.
I know.
What happened to you? I'll talk to you after the prayer, okay? Sister Leila, I'm going to.